The night was quiet, the kind of quiet that only came at the far edge of the galaxy. The lights of the spaceport shimmered in the distance like dying stars, and inside a small McDonald's on the corner of Orion 9's docking bay, Geo mopped the floor for the third time that night. He was a simple man, working a simple job. The night shift never changed much. A few space truckers would come in, order double burgers, and leave a mess. Then silence. Geo didn't mind. He liked the quiet. He liked the hum of the cleaning droid, the smell of fries that never quite went away, and the soft flicker of neon outside. But tonight felt strange. The storm outside wasn't a normal one. Plasma rain fell from the dark clouds, lighting the street in flashes of blue and white. Geo could hear the wind howling against the windows, and every now and then the power flickered. He was about to close for the night when he heard something. It wasn't loud, just a soft scratching sound coming from behind the restaurant. He frowned, setting down his mop. Probably a stray bot, he muttered, grabbing his jacket and stepping outside. The rain hit him instantly, warm and sharp, like tiny sparks against his skin. He walked around the corner and froze. Near the dumpster, half hidden in the shadows, was a small creature. It was trembling, its thin wings folded tight against its body. Scales shimmered under flickering lights, and its eyes, bright blue, glowing faintly, watched him with fear. Geo blinked. "What are you?" he whispered. The creature didn't answer, of course. It just made a weak sound, half whimper, half hiss. He could see its ribs showing. It was starving. Geo sighed. He wasn't supposed to bring animals, or whatever this was, inside. But he couldn't just leave it there. It looked so small, so lost. "All right, come on," he said softly. "You'll freeze out here." He crouched down, holding out his hand. The creature hesitated, then slowly crawled forward. Its claws were tiny, delicate, like glass. Geo lifted it carefully, surprised at how light it was. He carried it inside, closing the door against the storm. Inside, he wrapped the creature in an old towel and set it on a table. Its scales looked silver under the lights, and when it blinked, its eyes reflected tiny sparks of blue flame. Geo opened a bag of fries and placed one in front of it. "Don't tell anyone," he whispered with a small smile. The creature sniffed the fry, then ate it, then another, then another. It ate like it hadn't seen food in days. Geo chuckled quietly. "You've got an appetite," he said. When it finished, it curled up on the towel, letting out a small sigh. Geo watched it for a while, still unsure what it was. Some new alien pet? A rare species from the outer rings? Maybe someone lost it. But when he reached out to adjust the towel, the creature opened one eye and stared at him. For a second, Geo thought he saw something in that gaze, something more than an animal, understanding. He shook his head. "I must be tired," he murmured. He sat in the booth across from it, watching the storm outside. The creature's breathing slowed, soft and steady. Geo didn't know why, but he felt calm. For the first time in months, the loneliness of the night shift didn't feel so heavy. Hours passed. The storm raged outside, but inside the McDonald's, everything was still. Geo dozed off for a bit, the sound of rain in his ears. When he woke, the creature was gone. He jumped his feet, heart racing, and looked around, then stopped. It wasn't gone. It crawled closer to him, curling up beside his feet, like a sleeping cat. Its tail, thin and glowing faintly, wrapped around his boot. Geo smiled. "You're a brave one," he said softly. He checked the time. His shift was almost over. The morning crew would be there soon, and they couldn't see the creature. He gently picked it up and carried it to the storage room. There was a small space behind the old freezer, where no one ever looked. He made a nest there using spare towels and a heat lamp. "You stay here, okay?" he said. "I'll bring you more food tonight." The creature looked up at him, its eyes bright again. Then, for the first time, it made a soft sound, something like a purr, but deeper, echoing faintly in the air. Joe didn't understand it, but somehow it sounded like gratitude. He smiled again. "Yeah, you're welcome." As he left the storage room, he looked back one last time. The creature had tucked his head under its wing, glowing softly in the dark. Geo turned off the lights and locked the doors. The storm outside had ended, leaving the streets shining with blue puddles. He walked home to the quiet dawn, unaware that somewhere beyond the clouds, massive ships were scanning the planet, searching desperately for a missing royal hatchling. And in a small McDonald's at the edge of the galaxy, a janitor had just made a choice that would change the stars forever. Jiho returned to the McDonald's the next night, yawning as he unlocked the doors. The day's shift had left the place spotless, but something in the air felt different. Quiet, heavy, like the calm before another storm. He dropped his bag by the counter and glanced toward the storage room. The creature was still there, asleep under the heat lamp. Its tiny chest rose and fell slowly, and its silver scales shone brighter than before. Jiho smiled in relief. "You made it through the night," he whispered. He walked closer and noticed something new. Thin lines of gold had appeared between the scales, glowing softly. When he reached out, the creature opened its eyes. They were deeper now, glowing blue and gold at once, almost royal in color. "Hey, little one," Jiho said softly. "You hungry again?" The creature chirped, a sound that made Jiho chuckle. He opened a fresh packet of fries and set them down. The creature didn't just eat this time. It looked at him first, then carefully picked up a fry with its claws, as if mimicking his movements. Jiho laughed quietly. "You're learning fast." After it finished eating, the creature stretched its wings. They were growing, the tips now sharp and shining faintly. When it spread them, small sparks of blue fire danced along the edges. Jiho blinked. "You really aren't from around here, huh?" He sat on a crate beside it, watching the light from the lamp shimmer off the scales. "I should probably call someone," he muttered. "Maybe the Planetary Rescue Center?" Or, he hesitated, what if they took it away? What if they heard it? The creature tilted its head, almost as if it understood his worry. Then it did something strange. It placed one claw on his hand. Jiho froze. The claw was cold at first, but then warmth spread through his skin, gentle and steady. The creature looked into his eyes, and a strange calm washed over him. "All right," he said quietly. "No one needs to know. It's just you and me." That night passed slower. The restaurant stayed empty, and Jiho found himself talking to the creature while cleaning. He told it about his life, how he came to the outer colonies looking for work, how he missed home on Earth, how people laughed when he said he wanted to fix starships someday. "You're lucky," he said. "You can fly wherever you want. I'm just stuck here." The creature made a low sound, something between a hum and a growl, like it disagreed. Jiho smiled. "You think I'll get out of here someday?" The creature nodded, just a small movement, but it was enough to make him pause. He laughed again, shaking his head. "You really understand me, huh?" Later that night, while Jiho was wiping the counters, a sound echoed outside, the deep rumble of engines. He looked out the window and saw lights moving in the sky, bright and sharp. Ships, big ones, military grade from the look of them. "That's weird," he muttered. "This sector's supposed to be quiet." The creature suddenly tensed. It ran to the door, wings half open, eyes glowing fiercely. Jiho frowned. "Hey, what's wrong?" The creature turned to him and hissed softly, as if warning him. Then, from somewhere above, a voice echoed through a loudspeaker, deep and commanding. "Attention, citizens. We are searching for a lost asset belonging to the Imperial line. Do not approach or conceal it. Any interference will be punished." Jiho felt a chill. "Imperial line? That's royalty," he whispered. He looked at the small creature beside him. The gold in its scales seemed brighter now, almost burning. Its eyes, once soft, now gleamed with fire. "No way," Jiho said, voice shaking. "You're not just some wild animal, are you?" The creature stared at him for a long moment, then slowly bowed its head, not in fear, but in respect. Jiho swallowed hard. "So you're royalty, like a prince or something?" The creature made a sound, low, proud, and sad all at once. He sat down, trying to make sense of it. "They're looking for you," he said quietly. "If they find you here, I'll be in trouble. Big trouble." But when he looked at the creature again, it had curled up close to his leg, pressing against him like it trusted him completely. Jiho sighed. "You're not making this easy, you know that?" Outside, The ships kept moving, their lights sweeping across the dark sky. Jiho turned off the restaurant's main lights and crouched beside the little dragon, because that's what it had to be. A dragon. A royal one. "All right," he whispered. "We'll keep you hidden until it's safe. I promise." The creature looked up at him again, and for a brief moment, Jiho thought he saw something deep in those eyes, a mix of gratitude and sadness. Maybe it knew what he was risking. Maybe it didn't. Either way, Jiho stayed beside it until the ships passed. By the time the sun rose over the spaceport, the sky was calm again. Jiho stood by the window, exhausted but still smiling. Behind him, the little dragon slept soundly, its golden scales glowing faintly in the dawn light. He didn't know it yet, but far above the planet, the Emperor's fleet had just detected a faint heat signature in the area, and the search for the missing royal heir had narrowed to one small McDonald's on the edge of the galaxy. Jiho had barely slept. The morning light seeped through the restaurant windows as he packed up whatever food he could find, burgers, fries, and water packets. The small dragon watched him, its golden eyes alert and filled with trust. "All right, little one," Jiho muttered. "We can't stay here. They're looking for you." The creature tilted its head, letting out a soft trill, as if asking where they would go. Jiho smiled tiredly. Away from the city. Out in the rocks. Maybe. Somewhere they won't think to search. He grabbed an old service cart and placed the dragon inside, covering it with a tarp. The dragon stayed still, only the faint glow from its scales peeking through the cloth. Jiho pushed the cart out the back door and started down the service road, keeping his head low. The morning sky was strange. Thick clouds hung low, and faint lights flickered far above. He could hear distant hums of engines, the Imperial patrol ships sweeping the sector again. When he reached the old scrapyard behind the restaurant, he stopped to rest. The air smelled of metal and dust. "We'll hide here for a while," he said, uncovering the dragon. It climbed out, stretching its small wings. A faint ember drifted off its back and vanished in the air. Jiho crouched beside it, whispering, "You have to stay quiet, all right? They'll find us if you glow too much." The dragon blinked, then dimmed its light, as if it understood. Jiho chuckled softly. "Smart little thing." Hours passed. Jiho checked the horizon often, feeling his nerves tighten every time a ship roared by overhead. Then, just as the sun began to dip, a voice echoed through the air, a mechanical call. Unregistered life form detected. Prepare for inspection. Jiho froze. The sound came from a drone, hovering above the junk piles. Its scanner light swept across the yard, red beams searching for movement. "Stay down," he whispered. The dragon crouched low, pressing its wings tight to its body. But a small spark of flame escaped from its nostrils, a tiny golden flicker. The drone turned instantly. Energy anomaly detected. Jiho cursed under his breath. "Run." He grabbed the creature and sprinted between the piles of scrap. The drone fired a bolt of blue light that exploded behind him, sending metal flying. Jiho shielded the dragon and ducked behind an old engine hull. His heart pounded. Another explosion followed, closer this time. Jiho glanced at the dragon. It was shaking, frightened but watching him. "We can't outrun them here," he whispered. "We need to fight smart." He grabbed a length of pipe and threw it toward the opposite end of the yard. The sound drew the drone's attention, its sensors flashing as it turned away. Jiho took the chance and dashed toward the back gate. They made it out just as another beam sliced through the air. Jiho stumbled but kept going, his lungs burning. The dragon suddenly leapt from his arms, flying clumsily into the air. "No!" he shouted. But instead of fleeing, the dragon hovered in front of the drone, its small body glowing bright gold. A burst of heat rippled from it, raw energy that shattered the drone's scanner lens. The machine spun wildly, then crashed into the dirt in a shower of sparks. Jiho stared in shock. The dragon landed beside him, looking proud but exhausted. "You just took that thing down," Jiho said, half in disbelief. "You're tougher than you look." He scooped it up again and started running down the road, leaving the scrapyard behind. The sound of alarms rang out behind them. More drones, more soldiers. The sky above filled with the sharp hum of engines. "They've seen us," he said. "We have to move faster." By the time night fell, Jiho and the dragon had reached the old mining tunnels at the edge of the colony. The tunnels stretched deep into the mountains, abandoned long ago. Jiho set the creature down and leaned against a rock wall, gasping for air. He looked down at it. "You know, for a royal, you sure get into trouble fast." The dragon let out a soft sound that almost sounded like a laugh. Jiho chuckled too. "All right, Your Highness. Let's make it through the night, yeah?" Inside the dark tunnel, the dragon curled up near him, its body giving off a soft, golden warmth. Jiho closed his eyes, exhaustion finally catching up. For a while it was quiet. Then faint footsteps echoed from deeper in the mine. Jiho sat up instantly. He grabbed a wrench from his belt and held it tight. The dragon hissed softly, wings twitching. From the shadows, figures appeared, soldiers in silver armor, carrying plasma rifles. The imperial crest glowed on their shoulders. "There," one said, "the life form and the human." Jiho's grip tightened. "Stay behind me," he whispered. The dragon stepped forward instead, standing between him and the soldiers. Its golden scales flared to life, filling the tunnel with blinding light. The soldiers hesitated, raising their weapons. But before they could fire, a deep voice echoed through their calms. "Do not harm the child." Everyone froze. The voice was calm, powerful, and unmistakably royal. Jiho looked at the dragon, then at the soldiers, realization dawning. The Emperor himself was watching. The dragon looked back at Jiho with firelight in his eyes, as if saying, "This isn't over yet." And in that moment, Jiho knew he wasn't just protecting a creature anymore. He was standing between an empire and its future. The soldiers stopped at once, lowering their weapons. The golden light from the small dragon shimmered across their armor. Jiho stood frozen, his breath quick and heavy, watching as one of the soldiers stepped forward and spoke into a communicator, confirming, "Your Majesty, the life form is here, and so is a human." A pause followed. Then the deep voice returned, calm but powerful. "Bring them both, unharmed." The soldiers bowed their heads, the signal of absolute obedience. Jiho looked at the dragon, who now rested quietly beside him. Its golden eyes met his, full of strange calm. "Guess we don't have a choice," Jiho whispered. The soldiers surrounded them, but did not bind him. They simply walked, forming a circle as they guided Jiho and the dragon to the tunnels and out into the night. Outside, a massive ship waited, sleek, silver, and covered in glowing symbols that pulsed softly in the dark. Jiho's heart pounded as he stepped toward it. He could feel the heat from the ship's engines, even from a distance. He muttered, "This thing's worth more than every restaurant on Earth." The dragon nudged his hand softly, as if to comfort him. Jiho smiled weakly. "Yeah, I know. Stay close." They boarded the ship. The air inside was cool, filled with a faint metallic hum. The walls shimmered like liquid glass, and the floor lit up with every step. Jiho couldn't stop staring. It was the most advanced ship he had ever seen, and he was walking through it in his janitor's shoes. The soldiers led them into a large chamber. At its center stood a tall hologram, flickering in golden light, the image of a mighty dragon with horns that curved like crescent moons. Its voice filled the room, rich and commanding. "So," the Emperor said, "the human who saved my son." Jiho looked around awkwardly. I didn't know he was your kid. I just thought he was hungry." The dragon beside him let out a low, amused sound. The Emperor's image seemed to smile faintly. "You acted without knowledge, yet with kindness. Few in your world, or mine, would have done the same." Jiho scratched the back of his neck. "Well, I couldn't just leave him there." He looked scared. The Emperor's eyes softened. "And yet, your act has shaken two worlds." The room fell silent. Jiho glanced at the young dragon. "He's just a baby. What could he have done to cause that?" "He is my only heir," the Emperor said, "and the one who carries the flame of the royal line. When he vanished, every fleet was sent to find him." Jiho blinked. "And now you found him, thanks to me." "Yes," said the Emperor. "And now, human, you must face what comes next." Before Jiho could respond, the ship jolted slightly. One of the soldiers spoke quickly. Your Majesty, incoming ships, rebellion signatures detected. They've found us. The Emperor's hologram turned, his expression hardening. Activate the shields. Protect the air. The soldiers rushed to their stations. Jiho stood there, feeling useless, until the young dragon looked at him again. Its eyes burned with determination. "Wait," Jiho said. "You're not planning to fight, are you? You're just a kid." The dragon gave a sharp, short growl, almost like a word. Jiho didn't understand a language, but the meaning was clear. It wasn't running. The ship trembled as explosions echoed from outside. Jiho stumbled, grabbing a railing. Through the transparent wall, he saw bright lights flicker in the sky. Enemy ships firing plasma rounds, cutting through the clouds. "Your Majesty," a soldier shouted, "if the enemy boards us—" "They will not," the Emperor said, his voice calm even through the chaos. "The flame protects its own." Then something incredible happened. The young dragon spread its wings and released a burst of golden fire. The light expanded, filling the entire chamber before shooting out through the hull. It didn't burn, it healed. The energy sealed the ship's wounds, restoring power to its failing systems. Jiho could only stare in awe. "He fix a ship?" The Emperor's voice echoed softly. "He chose to protect you, human. The flame responded to heart, not blood." As the battle raged outside, the ship surged forward, breaking through the blockade. The Emperor's fleet appeared from the clouds, hundreds of golden ships surrounding them, turning the sky into a storm of light. Jiho's fear turned to wonder. The small dragon looked proud, standing tall beside him, its scales glowing brighter than ever. The Emperor's voice spoke again, quieter now. "You saved my son once, human. Now you will help guide him. He has much to learn about your kind and mine." Jiho blinked. "Me? Guide him? I'm just a janitor." "You are the one who taught him compassion," the Emperor said. "And that lesson is rarer than any flame." The hologram faded slowly. The noise outside quieted as the battle ended. Jiho leaned against the wall, breathing hard, still trying to understand what had just happened. The dragon climbed up onto his shoulder and pressed its head gently against his neck. Jiho smiled faintly. "Guess we're both stuck in this now, huh?" The creature chirped softly in agreement. As the stars stretched across the window, Jiho looked out in silence. Somewhere deep inside, he felt something shift, a strange warmth, a purpose he'd never known before. He wasn't just a janitor anymore. He was part of something much bigger, a story that reached across worlds. And as the ship soared into the endless dark, the golden light of the young dragon flickered beside him, bright and unbreakable. Days passed after the great battle in the skies. The Golden Fleet returned to the Emperor's world, a planet so vast and bright that Jiho could hardly believe it was real. Towers made of crystal rose into the clouds, and rivers of molten light flowed through the streets like fire turned gentle. Everywhere he looked, dragonkind bowed as the royal ship passed. Jiho stood near the window, still wearing his old janitor uniform. It looked strange among the shining armor and royal robes around him. He scratched his head and whispered, "I clean floors, not attend royal parades." Beside him, the young dragon, now a little stronger, taller, more confident, gave a soft rumble, its golden eyes full of joy. The creature had grown since the night Jiho shared that tiny burger. Now, it walked with pride, and wherever it went, other dragons lowered their heads in respect. The ship landed on a platform of glowing stone. When the door opened, thousands of dragons of every color bowed low. Jiho froze in shock. "Are they bowing to me?" he muttered. A soldier near him smiled slightly. "They bow to the flames chosen. And you humans share that bond." Jiho didn't understand at all, but he followed the guards as they led him and the young dragon toward the great hall. Inside, the Emperor waited, tall, regal, his scales shining like the sun. He looked down at Jiho, his eyes kind but strong. "Human," he began, "our world owes you a debt that can never be fully repaid." Jiho rubbed the back of his neck. "I just fed a hungry kid. That's all." The Emperor's gaze softened. "To you it was small, but to us it was everything. You showed mercy when others turned away. You gave life to my son. And through your courage, you helped us see what honor truly means. Jiho felt his face turn red. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I just didn't want to see him die. True honor, the Emperor said, is not found in power or title. It is found in the heart that chooses kindness. The young dragon stepped forward and made a low sound that echoed like a word. Jiho blinked in surprise. Wait, you can talk? The dragon nodded, voice shaky but clear. You, my family. The hall fell silent. Even the Emperor closed his eyes for a moment, humbled. Then he looked at Jiho again. My son has chosen his first word, and he has given it to you. You are now part of our royal flame. Jiho didn't know what to say. He felt small, overwhelmed, but also deeply moved. The Emperor turned his court and raised his wings high. From this day forward, he declared, Jiho of Earth shall be known as a human of honor, protector of the royal line and friend to all flame-born. The hall erupted in a deep, rolling sound, like 1,000 dragons roaring together. Jiho winced at the noise, but smiled shyly. He whispered to the young dragon, Guess I'm famous now, huh? The dragon nudged his arm and let out a small laugh-like chirp. After the ceremony, Jiho was led to a quiet garden behind the palace. Golden leaves drifted from tall trees, and pools of light shimmered like mirrors. He sat down by a pond, feeling the peace around him. He stared at his reflection. The same old tired face looked back, but his eyes seemed different now. Stronger, warmer. The young dragon sat beside him, its tail flicking softly in the grass. Jiho sighed. Back home, I used to mop floors and clean tables. No one even remembered my name. He smiled faintly. Now, somehow, I'm a royal protector in a world full of dragons. Life's weird, isn't it? The dragon tilted its head. Home? It asked softly. Jiho nodded. Yeah, Earth. I miss it sometimes. The smell of oil, the late-night fries, even the broken lights at the restaurant. The dragon leaned closer. Then we visit? Jiho laughed. You mean take the royal fleet to Earth? Imagine the manager's face when he sees a dragon ordering fries. The dragon made a happy noise, almost like laughter. Days turned into weeks. Jiho learned about the dragon's ways, their history, and their bond with fire. He trained with the royal guards, not with weapons, but in wisdom, how to use compassion as strength. Whenever he could, he told them stories about Earth, about people, about how humans struggled but kept helping each other anyway. And slowly he noticed a change. The dragons began to speak differently about humans, no longer as weak or strange, but as brave and loyal. One morning, the Emperor called for Jiho again. You have given us more than you know, he said. You reminded my people that kindness is not a weakness. It is the highest form of strength. Jiho bowed his head. Thank you, your majesty. But I only did what anyone should do. The Emperor smiled. That is why you are truly worthy. When Jiho returned to the garden that evening, he looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, small and blue, but full of heart. He felt the young dragon curl beside him, warm and calm. He whispered, Maybe kindness doesn't need to be big. Maybe it just needs to be real. The dragon nodded sleepily. Real like you. Jiho smiled, closed his eyes as the stars shimmered above. A simple janitor had fed a starving hatchling. That small act had changed a kingdom, healed an empire, and taught even dragons what it meant to be human. And from that day forward, across the stars, the name Jiho, the human of honor, was spoken with respect wherever fire and heart still lived. The end. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check him.